Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Me and Paul here. I just wanted to tonight just go through for a few things, and one of them is how the Labour Party doing at the moment. But let me just give you a bit of a gist. If any one of you went for a job, you get a trial period and stuff like that. So do we have to give Keir Starmer a trial period, or can we judge him as soon as they come in? Now, he's said a few naughty things. He's said a lot of naughty things, and he's done a lot of shady things. He's lied, same as every politician. But, Paul, how do you think the Labour Party are handling things at the moment?
I think they're stumbling in the dark. When Tony Blair came into power in 1997, he inherited a very powerful Tory economy. We were booming in Britain. So we had a lot of money to play with. He had a very confident country to take hold of, and he just drove it forward. This is totally different with Keir Starmer. Our economy, post-COVID, is in a mess. We're under an avalanche of debt. And that debt is because interest rates have had to go up, because we had this inflationary problem. That debt is weighing on everything. And he's got to find ways to cut public spending. Now, obviously, the first way would be to stop all the immigrants coming in. You know, instead of having to pay for all these hotel rooms, to build all this new social housing for them, to provide them with billions upon billions of welfare benefits, free education, free healthcare. You know, you think the first thing you do was just to turn off the immigration tap, to give Britain a bit of relief from this constant demand from third world invaders for resources, our resources. But no, he's turning the tap on quicker. They're coming in quicker now. There's more coming in. We've seen the tragedy today in the Channel. I think it was 13 of them have died. But this is because he's given the green light. They're coming in and there's going to be no pushback. He's got rid of the Rwanda scheme. He's not deporting anybody. And the Labour Party, basically, they're hopeless. They haven't got a vision of how to handle this. And we're being overwhelmed by third world invasion. Now, anyone who sides with the invaders, anyone who stands up for these people, anyone who actually makes it easier for them, is a traitor to this country. We are being overwhelmed, and this is causing disaster in our cities. Every council in our city, in our country, and the whole of Scotland is now massively in debt. So many councils have already declared bankruptcy, and they're on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. Now, how are Labour going to respond to this? Are they going to cut back on this wasteful spending? No, they're going to increase the amount of waste, and what they're looking for is more tax revenue. And they've identified a group, a specific demographic that they can milk for money. What is that demographic? The pensioners. First of all, hit them on all their special allowances, like heating allowances, but now they're going to go for the council tax. The 25% reduction for single people largely affects pensioners. Get rid of that. The pensioners will have to pay more council tax. And then they're going to start to hit them with their transport benefits. You know, remove the bus pass, the automatic bus pass you get when you're 60 or 65. You know, start hitting them at every angle. Start taxing them on their pensions, extra taxes on pensions. And they're looking at this, they're looking at the way our public sector is weighted, and they're saying, well, there's far too much going to pensioners. Pensioners don't vote Tory, actually. The most pensioners did vote Tory, even in this last election. But pensioners are not really a good constituency for the Labour Party. Let's hit them hard, and let's, you know, change the spending priorities over to the immigrants completely. I mean, they're already getting hundreds of thousands of hotel rooms ready now for more immigrants. It's absolutely insane what they're doing. It's waste, 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 tax, tax, tax. But the problem is, the more you tax an economy, the less productive it becomes, the less growth you get in the economy, the less people want to invest in the economy. Billionaires, entrepreneurs, people who make money, people who drive the economy are already jumping ship. They're leaving Britain. They're going elsewhere. because they know what's down the road. So the first signals from Keir Starmer are absolutely awful. And of course, he knows there'll be a kickback against this. He knows there'll be a kickback from the native population. There already has been following the protests in Southport. But this will become much more sustained and much more political. So what he's doing now is moving straight away to strengthen hate crime laws, hate speech laws. We're all going to be heavily centered on what we can say. And ultimately, they'd love to get rid of X. X is a real nightmare for them because X has become the public square where people can say what they really think, and it's not going to be censored by Elon Musk. Keir Starmer wants to censor that. It all depends what happens in America in November. If Trump wins, he won't get away with that. If the other one, Kamala Harris, wins, we're going to see an avalanche of censorship. Everything about this Labour government so far is completely odious. It stinks. And I think going along down the line, there's going to be real problems ahead. John?
Paul, you know, we can't fault Paul's logic and the stuff he said there. Like I said, Labour Party now, they're trying to get money from out of thin air, but they're not. They're trying to going on the pensioners. TV licence is going to come back. They're not bothered about us. They've lied and everything, and I can't see them lasting. And like you said, it's going to get odious. The new H crime laws, which didn't need to be brought out, have been brought out, and or they're going to get passed soon. And that even more criminalizes people for speaking out and everything. It's just ridiculous. So that's the Labour Party. Now, the Tories have been pretty quiet, I must say. I haven't seen much of the Tories. I don't know how they're going to bounce back off this. And in the last election, the Tories got decimated in the UK, not just by the Labour Party, by independents, other parties, the Workers' Party, Reform. They absolutely decimated the Tories. So what do you think the tune the Tories will play now, Paul?
Well, obviously, they're in the middle of a leadership election. Priti Patel has emerged as the front runner. Now, I attacked Priti Patel a few years ago because she was making all sorts of bold noises about stopping the boats and controlling the migrant invasion. And yet she went to France, talked to these people, these migrants, on the beaches to find out why they're coming to Britain. We all know why they're coming. There's a pull factor. They're coming for their money, for their free money. Oh, no, but they told Priti Patel that they were leaving France because France is a very racist country, and they wanted to go to Britain where they would be treated with respect and they would be safe. They're not safe in France. Now, you know, I've spent a lot of time in France, and that doesn't feel any different to Britain to me. And I think this was just absolute nonsense. We're just doing this, you know, for a sympathy vote or to twist people's opinions. But Priti Patel come back to Britain and said, these people are leaving France because of racism. We need to welcome them in England. Of course, she's an Indian herself. She's a Hindu. And she thought, oh, we'll put out the red carpet for these people. Now she's claiming she's going to stop all immigration, and she's going to be hard on immigration. And this is the problem with the Tories. They're okay with the rhetoric, but when they get power, they don't exercise that power. They did not rescind the Equality Act, which has put white, heterosexual Christian males at the back of every queue. They didn't get rid of that Equality Act, and that was a disgrace. Of course, they promoted Rishi Sunak, and I believe he just became Prime Minister because he was Indian, and they were playing the politically correct card. They were box ticking, and he was totally and utterly useless. The thing is, though, the Tories weren't totally decimated in the election. They got 25% of the vote. They got 120 MPs. I mean, but for Reform, they may have got a lot closer to Labour, but they lacked a vision. What was the point of voting Tory when they don't do what they say, and they weren't using their power properly? And I think people have got totally disillusioned with the Conservatives now. And for me, I mean, the way they squandered Boris Johnson's victory in 2019, was just diabolical. I mean, they had an 80-seat majority. They could have it's brought in some really serious measures to strengthen our country, to strengthen our borders, to protect the people of this country, to stop this invasion that was taking place, to bring real freedom and equality back into Britain and get it into this bogus equality law, which is, as you know, it's just promoting the ethnic minorities over the indigenous population. The Tories could have done some really good things with that majority, but instead they squandered it. They never got proper Brexit. And now Keir Starmer is backtracking on a lot of the successes we've had out of Brexit. He's pulling us back into the EU, just as the EU is going down the plug hole. So again, it doesn't all go well. So for me, it's the end of the Tories. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see any decent leader there who can give them a vision of the future to inspire the ordinary people of Britain. They have to reconnect with the white working class, and they're not doing that. And I think Reform have got a golden opportunity now to step into that vacuum and become the opposition and become, in a sense, the centre-right challenger to the Labour government.
Well,
John.
I mean, the Tories, everyone hates the Tories on it. Against my better judgment, I like Suella, and my name for tonight is Sassy Suella. So I'm a big fan of Sassy Suella, and obviously you would see that while the Tories were in control of the country, she couldn't properly speak out. As soon as he lost control, she spoke out and she said a lot of things that people were like, wow, but that's it through being in these mainstream parties. That's what you're gonna get. But Suella, if you're thinking of moving party, we'll always make room for you in the National Housing Party if you're interested, right? And I wouldn't say that to just anybody. I just like Suella. I don't, against me better judgment, I like her. You know what I mean? I mean, against me better judgment, I like George Galloway. I think he's a really good person and strong and he's for the working class. But that's just me. But Suella, if you're interested, there's a spot of you. We can't pay you much, but you're quite welcome. But so that's the Tories. So the Lib Dems and the Greens, I know in some areas, in the Somerset area, Lib Dems got members of Parliament in. They're still strong in some of them liberal areas. But even the Greens and Lib Dems are struggling to do anything because people just are not accepting these mainstream parties, are really not accepting. Now, I haven't heard anything off the Greens or the Lib Dems of anything else. And I think they're down to about 5 councillors in Oldham. I might be wrong with that, but they've gone down. And Oldham used to be a Liberal council. But what do you think of the rest of them, Greens and the Lib Dems, Paul?
Well, it's like a woke umbrella which covers the mainstream parties, excluding Reform to a degree. But it was interesting what you just said about Suella Braverman there, because the Tory party sacked her, and they sacked Lee Anderson, and they were their most popular figures. The Tory party seemed to have a death wish in the last election. It was very bizarre. It was very disheartening for anyone who wished to stop Labour, As for the Liberals did well because a lot of the right vote switched to Reform, give Liberals an opportunity, and I think they got 70-odd seats. But they're not going to do nothing with it. They've got the same ideology as the Labour Party. I mean, the pro-immigration, the pro-woke, they're against our traditional Christian values. They're in favour of big spending. They want us to go back into the EU. They're just like a sort of another version of the Labour Party. And the same goes with the Greens. The Greens seem to have abandoned any sort of environmental agenda. I mean, naturally, I'm a green guy myself. I love the countryside. I love to see green areas. But the Green Party now should be in complete rebellion against the way Labour are building on the green belts. The Greens should be really kicking off about this. Instead, they're more concerned about bringing illegal immigrants in. They're more concerned about protecting these invaders that are coming over from France. I mean, to me, They're probably financed by Soros, and they're just part of that. It's all about the great replacement. This is an invasion of our country by third world hordes. It's about disenfranchising the British people, reducing us in our cities, marginalising us through the Equality Act, pushing us out to the public sector. I mean, the NHS and the local government, the civil service, and now we're seeing it in education, are now being swamped with third world people from the Indian subcontinent, from Africa, from the Middle East. And it's like the white British, the indigenous people of this country, and the first wave of immigrants are now like pushed to the queue for everything. Now, the biggest problem here is housing. We're now seeing local councils enact policies where people who are born in Britain and have lived here all their whole lives can no longer apply for social housing. Priority is going to be given to migrants. And we're seeing even in London, Afghan migrants are getting priorities for flats in London. They're getting council flats in London. These are worth a fortune. I mean, you can buy them once you move in. I mean, it's like they're coming over here on false pretenses, and then they're entering this country. I regard it as illegal, but because of the treaties we signed, they can claim refugee status, and then they're being given our social housing, and this is causing desperation amongst young people in this country, young families. The priorities are all wrong. We're putting our young families to the back of the queue. Then they're having to stay with their parents. They're having to live in bedrooms like whole families. Overcrowding is becoming rampant in Britain now. And they're talking about building all these houses. I think that's a bit of a mirage. They'll find it very difficult to build these houses. Land is ultra expensive. Construction industry is on its knees. How they think they're just going to sort of conjure these houses out of fresh air is a joke, really. It won't happen. But what will happen is the houses they do build will go to the migrants coming into this country, and we, the indigenous people. So there's going to be a spirit of rebellion building in this country. Already we can see it. This Labour government is utterly despised. I mean, I was in a pub in Liverpool over the weekend and just spoke to ordinary Scousers, and they were calling Keir Starmer fit to burn. I mean, the abuse, and this is in Liverpool. Liverpool has turned against Labour in a very ferocious way. And what Keir Starmer's doing to the protesters in Southport was up the road. People who simply shouted at the police, people who expressed their anger, are being rounded up and are facing imprisonment, incarceration, some for 2 or 3 years. It's an abomination. It's an abuse of the justice system, and it's all directed on the white working class. The two-tier system. We've just seen the Notting Hill Festival. People stabbed to death. They just shrugged their shoulders. Oh, so what? Mass muggings, all sorts of knife fights. What's the problem? A few ordinary British people get angry when 3 young girls are murdered and others were badly injured. There was a brutal attack by that Rwandan guy. And they're being thrown into prison. It's an absolute abomination. And we should be angry in this country about that. And there's going to be a day of reckoning for this Labour Party, because the way they've started off, they are now attacking the British people full throttle. John.
Paul, I can't say no. So, I mean, when it comes to Merseyside and the authorities, Merseyside and the government, it just doesn't go bide well. Through Hillsborough, all Merseysiders were branded, they were blamed for it and all that, and then in the end, the media, the government and everything, they were all involved in branding them. And then obviously we've had Bulger murder, and there's been lots of other stuff that happened. And Merseyside has had it bad, and no one ever talks about this. No one ever says anything. You know what I mean? And what happened in Knowsley last year was a guy approached a girl. She filmed it. She reported it home, a schoolgirl. All the schools in the area got parents got notifications on the phone to set that there was someone talking to girls who shouldn't be an adult. And then They protested at the hotel where he'd come from. And you know, it's amazing that there wasn't as many arrests. And if Keir Starmer would have been in, then everyone would have turned up, would have been arrested. And they were just local people. There were no far-right people driving in from Burnley or Blackburn. It was just people in that area. And Joanne Anderson came out, called them all racists, doing that kind of thing. Our mates Tom and Kim pulled her in Liverpool city centre, videoed them why are you calling people these names? You know, why don't you say something about the people in the hotel? And this is how they treat you. And it's not going to bode well, like Paul said. It's not going to bode well for politicians in Liverpool, especially mainstream politicians, not the Tories, not the Labour Party. Now, you know, we've got a few contacts around Merseyside, and Tom, Kim, some of them, they've they talked to a Lib Dem guy, who, you know, who is a good person, but he's just bullied and put down and intimidated by the rest of the Labour Council. That's what they're like in Liverpool. And of course, Joe Anderson stepped down after 100 million black hole in funds and taxpayers' money in Liverpool that's been done on dodgy deals, and there's still been nobody held account for that. No councillor, no mayor, no crime commissioner, nobody has been held to account for 100 million black hole. And you people in Merseyside still vote these dumbasses in. You really
well, the truth is, John, in the general election, the vote for Labour in some constituencies, it was down 20%. Overall, it was down 15%. And this had followed on from the previous mayoral election, where, the Labour vote was down sharply. People in it's called the Liverpool City region now, we're sick of Labour. They've taken us for granted for too long. We know the corruption. We know where their sympathies lie. They're not with the ordinary Scousers anymore. They're with the invaders. And there's a lot of anger in the city now about that, and also about what happened in Southport. The murder of little BB, Alice and Elsie, that's not forgotten, mate. That's, you know, you can't cover that up, what happened there. And we know there's still ongoing. This knife crime is rampant, and it's largely, you know, it's tied to the migrant invasion. We're seeing criminalisation on our streets. But I don't want to be totally despondent here, John. I want to bring some hope into the picture, because things are changing. We're just seeing these elections in Germany, where the AfD, which stands for strong borders, and the sort of strength of the German nation, the re-emergence of the German nation. Because you see, what this process, the Great Replacement, what its goal is ultimately is to destroy our nations and to destroy us as a people, to take away our traditions, our heritage, our unity, our coherence, our future, and replace us. This is a dastardly plan, the Kalergi plan, to bring in a hostile population. And all that is good about Britain and about Germany, about all these European countries, which will be washed away, and these people will come in and dominate us. But people are fighting back. Now, we've seen this in Germany. We've got an election in America in November, which is going to be crucial. MAGA movement, Make America Great Again. It's neck and neck with the Democrats. The Democrats, I think, are going to do everything they can to swindle this election. There'll be voter fraud again on a mass basis. They'll use the postal votes. They may use the computers. But they'll try and of course, they use their media power, and they'll use the state power to try and undermine Trump and the Republicans. But it's going to be a tight one. And I think Trump can win because he's got more momentum. The only real problem is they're giving a vote to these illegal immigrants that are coming across the border. You know, talking about over 10 million, maybe 15 million that have come over the border under Biden, and they're being sent to the marginal states to give the Democrats a vote boost. But they're not American citizens. They shouldn't be allowed to vote. I hope the Supreme Court steps in with that. But there's hope there because there's momentum there. And of course, we've talked about X and the freedom of speech. But let's talk about the National Housing Party, the UK now, and Reform as well, and the patriotic parties. This is the time for us to step up to the plate. This is the time for us to assert ourselves. Now, we, as the National Housing Party, we're welcoming to all patriots. There's no cancel culture with us. We stand for two things: stop all immigration, stop the refugee invasion. No more refugees. We've had enough immigration, enough refugees. Let's get on with what we've got here. We don't want any more coming in. We need, and that means we have to withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights, from the United Nations Resolution number 51, which allows them to come here. Let's get on with it. That's our policy. Now, there are two foundational policies. We have many other policies, one of which you've hinted at earlier, is to give priority to people born in Britain for social housing, which has been stripped away from them. But, you know, the thing is, we are a network of patriots which has been built up over the past 2 years, and we've expanded dramatically now. We had a great leaders meeting last night, and, you know, it's great to hear voices from the likes of Cornwall, from the likes of Birmingham, from the likes of Lincoln, from, you know, Essex, all over England, indeed all over the United Kingdom. We are now established as a party. We've got bases, and we need to build up this network of patriots. Unlike the Reform Party, we welcome all patriots. You mightn't agree with all our policies, but you're welcome to come and join us to offer your opinions. Your opinions will be respected. There is a big issue about remigration, whether we should start expelling people who have already been granted residency here and British passports. We don't support that. It's not politically expedient at the moment. It also would be very threatening to a lot of established immigrant communities and could cause a lot of social strife. And it would probably exclude these people legally from standing in elections in many areas. So our policy is practical, it's pragmatic. First of all, we have to stop the immigrant invasion, and we have to stop all this refugee nonsense. And we're an absolutist party. No more immigration. We've had enough. But there's a great camaraderie in our party. We've lasted the last 2 years. We've got committed members now, committed leadership, and we're going forward. There's a great spirit in the party. We're connecting patriots together. This is what we've got to do. We've got to get organised. Now, you talk about reform. Reform, obviously, are the big fish now on the right. They got the money. They got the great leader and Nigel Farage. They got the presence. They put up all these candidates in parliamentary elections. We're only standing in local elections until we feel we're big enough to assert ourselves in parliamentary elections. That will come, but it's still a few steps up the ladder yet. But Reform are very censorious about who they accept in their party. If you've been involved with other right-wing nationalist parties, you will not be accepted. And this includes the likes of Britain First, BNP, Heritage, Homeland, Patriotic Alternative. All these other parties, you cannot join the Reform Party. Why? Because they listen to the mass media. They listen to the liberal media, which is anti-British. We don't. You're all welcome to come and join us. I mean, but another thing about Reform is that they're sort of equivocating about the Ukraine war. You know, the Richard Tice went over there and supported Ukraine. We don't want this war on Russia. We see it for what it is. It's an onslaught on the Russian state and on the Russian people. The Donbass is a disgrace what was done to the Russian people there, and the Russians have the right to reclaim that and protect their people there. No
mainstream news media organisation ever talks about what happened before Zelensky. They never talk about it, and they never talk about the people in the Donbass area and the other areas around it who were persecuted, put down. They never mention it, and that really gets me going. That.
Yeah, you've got Luhansk, you've got Zafor, you've got all these oblasts, they're called, in the east of Ukraine, which are Russian-speaking. I mean, the Ukrainian language is really just a dialect of Russian. The Ukrainian people are really just a variety of Russian. And, you know, they've coexisted for centuries as one country. And now they're totally alien people from another. There should be peace. The amount of people that have died in this conflict is obscene. What happened between 2014 when they had the Colour Revolution in Kiev and then the Russian invasion in 2020 was 6 years of persecution of the Russian minority. I mean, this is what led to this war. And they're not going to defeat Russia. Doesn't matter what America done. They've been America has come across as rather lackluster in this campaign. Their weapons are not up to scratch, and they're not the force that they think they are. The Russians have put them in their place, really. But we want an end to warfare. We want an end to Britain's involvement in all these international wars. Ever since the war on terror, which so many of our lads give their lives and their limbs in the likes of Afghanistan and Iraq, it was all an illusion. We weren't bringing democracy to anywhere. We were actually just sacrificing our lads for Israel. That was the truth, and that's got to stop. That's got to stop. We've got to put the priority on redeeming our own nation and redeeming Europe, because Europe's got a problem. It's got a problem with an aging population. The birth rate is too low. The economy is stagnant. The political leadership is inept and without vision. We need a new ruling class in Western Europe. And this is what the likes of our party, the National Housing Party, represent. And the Alternative for Deutschland, National Rally in France, Vox in Spain. We represent new voices and new vision for our nations. And we need this reinvigoration of the British nation. So come on board and join us. We're a family. And we're a family which I think has got great prospects ahead to impact the political scene in this country. John?
Yeah, definitely, Paul. National Housing Party, guys, we're looking for candidates for 2026 elections. And we will do some paper candidates if you're willing to jump on board and all that lot. It's not too complicated. There are quite a bit of paper what you get from them, but it's not difficult to sort out. You've got to be a registered voter. You've got to be on the electoral list. And if you want to try your hand out, you don't have to do much. You won't have to do any knocking if you're a paper candidate. You'll just be on thing. You just post on Facebook. You'll just be on the election thing. 2025. Well, mine's in 2026. That's why I said it, because Oldham elections work differently than the rest of the country. Unfortunately, people, that's just the way it is. So mine's 2026. So if you want to come on board, join us, email us. Honestly, it's not difficult. And join us. Consider being a candidate. If you know people in your area and you're quite comfortable to talk to people in the street or your neighbours, you're comfortable enough to be a candidate. If you work for a council or you work in services or anything like that, if you're a governor of a school or anything, if you do stuff, if you're on the PTA association, join us. Honestly, that's the first step of getting it. Let me just give you an example. We bumped into a woman called Margaret. It was Pat actually first bumped into him when we was knocking and delivering leaflets. Then I got in contact with her again. She emailed me, so I went round seeing her, and she went, "Oh, I ain't got the noggin to be a counsellor, but I'm a governor of a school." And that's how counsellors. That's how you start to be a counsellor, is in a job in the community, like the governor of a school. So come on board, join us, email us, tell us where you live. If you want to be a paper candidate or you want to start running, join us. We will. It's difficult at first, but we will, on certain elections. Pat's been helping out down London in a couple of elections that are close to him, two of the girls there. So he's been down there a lot. I've been to the Wirral, and obviously I have mine in Oldham. So, join us and email us. Our links, I put the party website in the chat. And I mean, we've come to the point now where, when we need leaflets, we've got leaflets. I've just had 5,000 delivered of our new leaflets. Got not much has changed, but Pat's got his picture on it this time. And I've got 5,000 here. I travel all over the place, man. I hand my leaflets out wherever I go. I took about 300 to Ireland, and I handed them all out before I come home. But that's me. I've got some to do in my area, but come and join us. Come and join the National Housing Party. Get into it.
And it's not only just about being a candidate. It's also being part of our campaigns. Obviously, we're an activist party. We're local activists. We post leaflets. We knock on doors if you're up for it. I love canvassing myself, campaigning, talking to people. That's how you find people's hearts. And once we sell people that, you know, we're there to represent local people. We're there to give them the priority in their areas over housing and social services. We're intent on stopping the boats and stopping immigration and taking the pressure off our social services that's coming from that and our local areas. People love that. And then we get into other issues. You know, it could be refuge collection. It could be problem with housing. It could be social service issues, schooling issues, education. You can get involved with local issues as well. But people want to meet people who are interested in local issues and are interested in the national issues as well. And they want to discuss politics. They feel neglected. We go on the doorstep, knocking on people's doors. He said, "We've never seen our Labour councillor." I said, "Do you know who your Labour councillor is?" "No, don't know, never seen him." And I said, "What if you've got problems? Who'd you contact?" "Well, it's pointless contacting them because you get no response." People feel like alienated from the political process. And if they see somebody in their community that's willing to take a stand, they will support you. We have stood in numerous local elections now, and we get healthy votes. 200-300 votes, you know, and this is for a new party, a new voice. But the more we canvass, the more we campaign, the bigger the vote is. And obviously, Pat's done a great campaign in Holborn. We're campaigning in right across the country now. We're going to be standing candidates 25, 26, 27. It's 2025 very soon, obviously. So we're hoping to increase our votes further and to start winning council seats, and to have councillors who will speak up for their local communities. This is the birth of a new party, a new movement in this country, a genuine people's patriotic movement, which is open to all and which will raise the hot issues. But we're not hateful. We're not threatening anybody. We're simply speaking up for the neglected people of this country. John.
Yeah, definitely, Paul. Yeah, so get in contact with us, guys. There's our details and all that. If you want to make a donation, you can do through our PayPal. We do have a bank account, so you'd have to contact us separately. But yeah, you know, and we're looking forward to the elections. Like I said, mine's a bit different. When we started, Pat did his election, then did a by-election. Then he's got 4 years till his next one. But with me, I had an election a year after. I had a by-election. I've had another election. It's 3 elections every 4 years. So it's a lot different in Oldham. So, you know, I've been out all the time working, knocking as much as I can. But I've also been supporting people with issues at the council. So I've had meetings with councillors, Tory councillors, independent, the Labour councillors, the chief executives. I've made my presence known in all these areas. And, you know, I'm a confident, can talk person, can say the right thing. And I'm not disruptive. The thing I'm not disruptive. I might be if I was an activist or a protester, but when I want to be a councillor, I don't want to be disruptive. So I'll sit down and listen, and we'll talk, and I'll write notes and stuff like that. So that's me, and that's how I've been working within the thing in my council. And I had a chat with an ex-Labour councillor and an independent, and they're both confident if I keep me toes on the ground, I keep doing it, I will get that council position. So it's simple as it's coming, guys, and I'm very confident I will eventually. Might not take 5, might do 6 years, but I'll get it.
The thing is, because this Labour government is coming across so bad, it's so odious, and there's so much disillusionment already. Because people know that the Tory government was a shambles, and people realise that the Liberal Party is just another, you know, woke establishment party. They're looking for alternatives. People are looking for alternatives. Now, Reform is emerging, but Reform is a top-down party. We're a bottom-up party. We're a grassroots party. Reform have been mealy-mouthed about the big issues. They're saying they're going to allow refugees to come in, but they're going to process them and so on. They'll allow an Australian type immigration system. We're absolutists. We've had too many refugees. It's beyond a joke. We've had far too many. It's abused this country for long enough, and we want to pull out of all these refugee conventions and stop refugees coming to this country, so-called refugees. And but also we've had more than enough immigration. It's not beneficial to this country economically or socially to allow any more immigration, and everyone recognizes that. Even the immigrants who came here like 50 years ago, they recognize that it's gone on. There's too much, and it's not beneficial. It's costing this country an arm and a leg. The 14, 15 million immigrants that have come in since Tony Blair opened the floodgates in 1997 is costing this country hundreds of billions of pounds every year. I mean, 80% of all immigrants that come on this country spend the rest of their life on benefits, and then their family stays on benefits. You know, it goes from generation to generation. It's of no benefit to this country. And within it, we're hitting some sort of another credit crunch. You can feel it coming on. There's a recession. They don't know how to handle it. The government is going to start making draconian cuts in public spending, and it's going to hit a lot of the poorer people in this country. And that means we have to prioritize the British people. British people should come first in Britain. That is just logical. It's like being a father of a family. You feed your own children first. You look after your own family first. You're not there to look after the whole world. The whole world, through the immigration and asylum system, has now got access to the British welfare state, and it's absolutely in a state of collapse. Now, it's going to be the Labour government that is going to preside over the collapse of our welfare state. So, and people aren't going to be able to turn to the Tories for release and relief. They're going to need new voices. That's why it's imperative that we build up the National Housing Party of the United Kingdom. We are a new force, but we're getting name recognition. We're known now. We got 50,000 followers on our Twitter account. That's a big echo chamber. We can get our messages out there. We've got thousands of followers now across the country. Now, we're prepared to say things that Reform won't say. We're prepared to welcome people on board that Reform exclude. We're a campaigning party. We're a patriotic party. We're a party on the streets that meets and connects with local people. And therefore, we are offering a new opportunity to the British people. Get on board. We've seen populist parties in the past and the impact they can have. We can have an impact on this nation, and we're desperately needed. John?
Yeah, definitely. Certainly. Sorry, I'm just bashing all over Twitter. I always put the thing all over Twitter. So if you're watching Good Law Project, Jewish Chronicle, Simon Fell MP, or Carol Vorderman, you've been hammered. And Carol, please stay out of politics or stick to OnlyFans or whatever you do. I am liking the political scene at the moment. I'm liking all the drama. I'm liking the pushback from groups such as we talked about this, the Workers' Party, Reform, independents running all over the country. People are really peed off and they're changing the vote. And this is the time to get in. And we did say, when me and Pat first started to talk about the party, we both agreed that the next few years is going to be political change. And we're not even 5 years in, and this just coming, political waves coming. It's that tidal wave. But it's not a big high one that washes everything away. It's a strong, steady one that pushes back against the woke leftness and the socialism and the communists, or whatever you want to say, pushes back against all them. And that's what we're on. That is what we're on.
I think, John, that Pat's been very prophetic, because he foresaw the collapse of the Tory government, but he also foresaw the surprisingly rapid collapse of this Labour government. The Labour Party is about to tear itself to pieces. They've already expelled 7 members. They've got vicious cuts to push through. And we're seeing this in Scotland now with the SNP government. They've got to put through hundreds of millions of pounds worth of cuts. I think it's something like 500 million over the next year. The money isn't there anymore. These high interest rates, they've shrunk the money supply. And so the government's feeling pressure, and they're going to put that pressure onto us. And the services you expect and the services you pay for, they're going to be under threat. And of course, there's a lot of Labour politicians who won't be happy with that, and they'll take a stand against it. Don't forget, you talked about George Galloway, the Workers' Party. There's also independents in the House of Commons that can cause rankle in the Labour movement. And so this, as John said, people are abandoning the mainstream parties now. The last election, they only got, I'm not sure if they got over 50% of the vote. It's the Workers' Party, the Reform Party, the Independents, and the new emerging parties like the National Housing Party that are going to start impacting this country. When people want to find out what's going on, when they want to see truth, and when they want to see a way out, they're going to turn to our Twitter account, the National Housing Party UK, my Twitter account, Paul Rimmer, john.lawwrence. They're going to turn to us to hear the message of hope, because we have a way forward. We have a vision that can change this country for the better. And if you come on board, you get behind us, we can make that vision happen, and we can bring hope to the whole British nation. We need to reinvigorate and regenerate this nation. There's a mission that we're on, and we're not going to bow down. We're a Christian party. We believe in Christian values. We believe that Jesus Christ is King, and we're not ashamed to say that. We want to go back to the powerful Christian nation Britain once was, and we were a better nation for that. We're going to stand against transgenderism. We were supporting Enoch Burke in Ireland and his campaign there. He's in Mountjoy prison tonight for standing up against the use of puberty blockers and the use of the mutilation of kids that's happened in Ireland. He's in prison tonight because of that, Enoch Burke, and he's become an international martyr. But the whole agenda, the whole woke agenda, we believe in the traditional family. We believe in children. We believe in patriotism, a nation with strong borders, and we believe that's all wrapped up in our Christian faith, our traditional Christian faith, not the woke nonsense you get in so many churches today. The Bible teaching, the 10 Commandments, the difference between right and wrong, the support for what is decent and proper, and the right spirit behind it. We need a nation where love is at the center again. The British used to be a warm-hearted people, confident people, a very peaceful people, and a loving people. That was the Britain I grew up with, and that's the Britain I want to see back again. But all this wokeism has undermined all that. All this left-wing nonsense has undermined the healthy values, the wholesome values that were the bedrock of this nation. So we're standing for them as well. That's what makes us different. We are prepared to speak out on these issues and to proclaim our patriotism, our Christian faith, our pro-family policies, our pro-British policies, and our strong border policies. And I think that's a winning formula. John?
Yeah, definitely a winning formula. So, guys, I've got interview coming up next Wednesday, the 11th. And with Zaina Iman, allegedly assaulted in Great Manchester Police, who I've had an issue with for ages anyway. And I mean, mainstream media have covered Zaina a lot, so hopefully I might get a little bit of coverage in it. I'm going to name 2 serving police officers. They was serving in 2018. I'll name them. They were police constables, and I will name them on the show. They're guilty of assaulting a friend of mine. And I've named these guys at the MERS question time, so I don't take any prisoners. And, we've got issues with police. Great Manchester Police went into special measures for not reporting 130,000 crimes properly. And when we look into it as well, they failed on child sexual exploitation and protecting our children. It's what it says in their report, right? It's what it says in their report. Obviously, violence against women has been a big thing in Great Manchester. It was Big John who talked about Sarah Hussein, who got torched outside her house. Only me. Nobody else mentioned it. Only me. They are now reinvestigating that crime because it's not as clear cut as it looks, and it was honour violence. So, you know, I don't care. You know, I've had the chief constables. I've said to the deputy chief constable Woods and the chief constable of Oldham that the police might as well all be sex offenders, crooks, and gangsters. That's what I said to them in a meeting. And you know, like, I want them to show faith. I want to have faith in the police, but they've got to do the job properly. They've got to be stopped to come out of common purpose training. They've got to be stopped being woke, and they've got to be a police force, not a police service who bends and dances to and all that lot. We've got to have a proper police force. So, you know, I'm a big critic of Greater Manchester Police, and I have been for more than 10 years. So this is next Wednesday. I've seen Lodger in the chat. Lodger, if you've got time, will you come on, because you want them in mods? And I'll make someone else up a mod as well, a couple of mods, because we'll get some good views on this. Zaina's not bothered. Zaina's met me a couple of times. She knows my views and that, but she also knows that I stand up against the establishment, the police, and I stick up for kids who've been abused and child sexual exploitation. It's one of my biggest things that I do in everything. So that's next week, guys. So please tune in. Next Wednesday, at 8 o'clock.
John, did you see the arrest of Enoch Burke in Ireland?
Yeah,
you seen the footage?
Yeah.
Now, that guy is a teacher, and he refused to use, they're called compelled pronouns. So a boy, he was compelled to call the boy they, and he said, no, I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. And because of that, he sacked. He said, no, you can't sack me because of that. I want to call a boy he. And but they did. They sacked him, and then they got a court injunction to stop him coming into school. He said, no, I've done nothing wrong. I'm a teacher. I'm a qualified teacher. He's a well-respected teacher, Enoch Burke in Ireland. And he's an excellent teacher, actually. He's a decent guy. He's a Christian. And this is where they're making a big mistake. They're persecuting a genuine Christian. This man has faith in God. And he will die for his cause. You know, they put him in prison. He's already served 400 days in Mountjoy prison for this non-crime. And you saw the police arrest him. The police said, look, we've got to do our duty. And he said, no, you haven't. If what you're doing is wrong, you should not do it. And what you're doing here is wrong. I'm standing up for these children that are being abused, they're being manipulated by the system to accept puberty blockers and to accept, mutilation of their bodies, the severing of their genitalia. He said, this is horrendous. And yet I'm doing nothing wrong, he said, and they've got no reason to sack me. Now, the Irish government, I don't know if you saw it today, John, his mother went to approach a minister in the Irish government and she ran away. She was terrified. You see, when you've got God on your side, you've got an unstoppable force. These people don't know what they're dealing with. Christians never back down when they've got a sense of righteousness. It says in the Bible, the righteous are as bold as lions. Don't forget, Christians, early Christians, went to the lions. They gave their lives for their faith, the testimony to their faith in Christ. And Enoch Burke is of that same spirit. They will not break him. They will not defeat him. And this is like exposing the whole woke agenda. That's the spirit we need in Patriots in this country. We will not bow to the demonic powers that are trying to intimidate us and destroy our families, destroy our nation. This is a battle of good against evil. And that's why we stand behind the Christian cross, and it's there at the center of the Union Jack. It's there at the center of our history, the Red Cross, the cross of St. George, and of course the cross of St. Patrick and the cross of St. Andrew, which make up the Union flag. It's something we should be incredibly proud of, but it's something to remind us of what our true tradition is, what our true values are. We are a Christian nation. And, you might look at the churches and think, what a load of woke nonsense. That's not true Christianity. We are traditional Christians. And we're going to use that Christianity to rebuild this nation from the bottom up. That's why the National Housing Party has had 2 very successful years, because we believe that God is with us. And we are, as we had a meeting last night, some great people on that meeting, and they all expressed their faith in the future of Britain, the faith in our Christian traditions, and the faith in the message that we're bringing. It's a very important message. It's a message that the British people need to hear, because it's excluded. It's excluded from the mainstream media. The mainstream media wouldn't let anybody say something like this. I stood as mayor of Liverpool twice, and whenever I tried to give a testimony of my Christian faith, it was excluded from the media. They would always censor it out, because they don't want people to be reconnected with our spiritual strength. It's a spiritual battle we are facing in this nation. You talked about the police. I've been arrested 3 times on political charges, and 3 times I've been vindicated. I've won my cases, and ultimately I've been either found not guilty or the charges have been dropped. But each time I've confronted the police and I've said, look, do you believe in God? And that causes them to panic. Why are you asking me that question? I said, because I want to know, do you believe in right and wrong? Do you believe in good and evil, and which side you stand on? And they bottle it, because they know that they're not standing on solid ground. We're standing on solid ground. The American Republicans, they're fighting back as they're standing on solid ground. We've got to stand on this ground to give our children a future, because otherwise they're going to take it away from them. And so everyone, parents, future parents, any people who cares about this family, this nation of ours, because we are a family and we have to come together as a family. And the National Housing Party is the British family reborn. It's a microcosm of the Britain we want to create. So come on board, join our family. It's a great thing to be part of. It's a great privilege. I feel so privileged to know people like John Lawrence. I feel so privileged to know people like Pat McGinnis and all the guys who are on there, Steve Wild. Great guys, great patriots, people that you'd be beside in the trenches, as they say, and this is what we need. We need real men and real women motivated by the right spirit to redeem this nation. John?
And Pat, we've got altogether there's 827, 570 on my Twitter, 250 on yours, 12 on my YouTube, and nothing on Facebook. But that's it. But I mean, it's a good platform. Twitter, like Paul said, it really is a good platform at the moment for a bit of everything. And with Elon on board, he's X. With Elon on board, he's absolutely like going against the grain. But I mean, Elon, it's funny. I don't know if people know the story, but he's got a kid who's sort of like a they, them, she, her, and he did an article where he regrets listening to all these people about his kid. He absolutely regrets it. And what I think Elon's done, he's seen the light. He's took the blue pill. He has took the blue pill, and he has swallowed it down. He's took the blue pill.
Totally.
And he's seen the light. Otherwise, they wouldn't be attacking him like the the amount of attacks he gets, no matter whether you like him or not, that means he's saying that what we want to say. It means he's saying the right stuff. So, that's just a bit about him. But thank you very much, everyone. This is a Nationalising Party talk with me and Paul. Quite random, but you heard us talk about the Labour Party, the Tories, the Lib Dems, the Greens. We didn't mention too much about Scotland, but they're not in any fit state as it is up there. And Ireland is firing up. It's firing up. There's been trouble across Ireland over several different things, not just one issue, lots of different things. And it's coming to a head. And we're going to get in on the local elections, guys. That's what we're going to do. But thank you, Paul. Any last words?
Cheers, guys. My last word is keep the faith. Have hope in your hearts, because we're going to overcome. You look at America, you look at what's happening in Germany and across Europe. You look at the revival of Russia and the Christian revival there. You look at the people are pushing back against these globalist Zionist tyrants who are pushing us down. We have to reassert ourselves, reassert our nationhood, and reassert that we are a people and we have a history and a heritage, and we're not going to give that up. Cheers, John.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, everyone in the chat. And we'll catch you all next week for Party Talk.
Ciao.